Hello, I'm James Weeks from Weeks Insurance Group. Let's face it, I understand health insurance isn't the most entertaining of topics to talk about, and with all the terms and abbreviations used, it can be rather confusing as well. But understanding them is essential to getting the most out of your coverage. So in this video, I would like to explain how health insurance works, specifically focusing on medical networks and explaining a few of the main key insurance terms. So let's start with something that most people find a little tricky. In-network versus out-of-network, and how this will affect what you pay. I'm sure that you've heard the question, is your doctor or is your hospital in network with your insurance? So let me explain what this question means. In-network providers, like your doctors, hospitals, or specialists, they have a contract with the insurance company. They've agreed to provide services at a lower negotiated rate. That usually means lowering the cost for you. Out of network. If a provider is out of network, they don't have a contract with the insurance company. As a result, you'll likely face a higher cost for not having that negotiated rate. And in some cases, your insurance might not cover your service at all. Okay, so now we have an understanding of how the in-network and out-of-network works. Now let's talk about the three different types of networks and how they determine which providers and facilities you can see and still remain in network. Here are the three common types. You have PPOs, HMOs, and EPOs. So let me explain what these abbreviations means and how they work. Let's start with the PPO. A PPO is a preferred provider organization. This is often the most flexible and the most popular types of plans. It gives you access to the largest networks and providers. You don't need to choose a primary care physician. And in most cases, you don't need a referral to go see a specialist. Now, normally, when you start talking about top tier providers, they may charge higher rates. But with a PPO network, you'll have access to these top tier providers. And you'll still receive the in-network negotiated or discounted rate. So you get flexibility and savings within a much larger network that includes the top tier providers. The next provider network is an HMO, Health Maintenance Organization. As an HMO is usually a mid-tier option, the network is a little more localized or smaller. You do need to pick a primary care physician who manages your care but gives you referrals to specialists if needed. However, there's usually no out-of-network coverage unless you have an emergency. The benefit of having an HMO, providers in HMO networks often agree to lower rates in exchange for a steady stream of patients from the insurance provider. So it's a little bit more of a controlling system, but you can save money. The last provider network is an EPO, Exclusive Provider Organization. This is often the most restrictive option. You must use in-network providers. There's no out-of-network coverage. And in many areas, there's just one main provider or facility that you will be in network with. But here's why it works. An exclusive relationship means providers offer higher negotiated rates because all the patients that are in the insurance network are directed to them and them only. You'll have no other options other than who's in network, so the provider is offering a lower rate. In return, they are getting a larger push of clients from the insurance provider. Okay, so now we've covered the networks, plans, and how they work. So let's go over a few key terms within the policies that you'll often hear and how they work. So let's start with the deductible. What is a deductible? A deductible is an amount that you have to pay out of pocket before your insurance starts to pay. For example, if you have a policy that has a deductible of $2,500, you'll pay that first $2,500 before the insurance kicks in and starts to pay the claim. Now there's a couple of exceptions that I'll explain here in a second. The next term that you need to know is coinsurance. This is the percentage you pay after meeting your deductible. For example, if you have an 80-20 coinsurance, your plan covers 80% and you pay the other 20%. Okay? The next term that you need to know is copayment or copay. Not to be confused with coinsurance that I just explained, a copay is a fixed dollar amount that you pay for a specific service, like doctor visits or prescription coverage. In most of these cases, you'll receive this benefit before you have met your deductible, unless it's described differently in your policy. Like some plans, you'll have a prescription deductible that is separate than your primary deductible. Last but not least, out-of-pocket maximum, or what we call a stop loss. This is the most you'll pay in total in a policy year, including everything I just explained earlier, meaning your deductible, your copays, and your coinsurance. Once you've hit this amount, your insurance pays 100% of covered services for the rest of the policy year. To give you an example, if you have a hospital claim in the amount of $100,000 with a $2,500 deductible, an 80/20 coinsurance, and an out-of-pocket maximum of $4,500, you'll first pay the $2,500. That's when the coinsurance kicks in. And then you'll pay 20% of the claim until you've met your out-of-pocket maximum of the $4,500. Once you have met that out-of-pocket, your claim is now covered at 100%. So with a $100,000 claim, your responsibility will only be $4,500 in this example. But keep in mind, some policies have a limited benefit amount. So please be sure to read the fine print in your policy for these possible limitations. With all this being explained, it can be rather confusing. However, there's one last term that you need to know. That is EOB, or an explanation of benefits. This is the total breakdown that you'll receive from your insurance provider once a claim has been received. This will give you a complete breakdown of your claim and how it's being paid, including your total cost of the claim, the negotiated rates from the provider, or the amounts of the in-network discounts, and the total amount that is your responsibility. So to wrap up this video, we hope that this has helped to make things clearer and easier to understand about medical networks, as well as the key insurance terms. At Weeks Insurance Group, we're always just a phone call away if you have any questions or need help with your plans. This is just one of the many benefits that you'll get as a valued client. It's our commitment to help you benefit the most from your coverage. So please, feel free to reach out. We're here to help you make sense of your health coverage needs. Once again, I'm James Weeks, and thank you for trusting the Weeks Insurance Group. I look forward to hearing from you soon.